Okay, we are officially recording our first go-to archive lecture, not archive lecture, our first go-to lecture for you guys in our October term here at Full Sail University in your technology and entertainment media class. That's TEM, and it is an umbrella class that kind of covers, I think, 11 different degrees at this time. And the reason for the class, if you did not watch this great welcome video we did, because it's
There is
funny.
nothing wrong with your computer. Do not attempt to adjust the video. We are controlling the transmission.
Does anyone remember what this is from? I had one student guess it correctly this month. Does anyone know it? Just yes, Craig, were you the one who actually told me that?
Or the darkest of black. For the next month, sit quietly, and we will open your minds to your industry, your degree, your professional life. You are about to participate in a great adventure. You are about to experience the
Good to know.
awe
Good to
of
know.
history.
I know you guys can't hear the video, but it is playing loudly in my ears, so it's harder to talk. But that is a little overview, and then after that it goes about what our focus is and everything else in the class. Oh, you guys can hear it. Oh, that's wonderful. It used to not function that way for whatever reason, but we try to be a little humorous and have some bumpers for classic science fiction throughout. But the TEM class is an overview for all of you guys. It's an umbrella that covers all of you because you all use technology in the process of making your design. So in the process of creating and designing things for your eventual professions, you all use and rely on technology, be it digital, sculpting, drawing, modeling, animating, coding, cloud tech, system stuff, all of that kind of stuff. It all falls under the same umbrella. And the focus of the class is a few key points. First, and the one I usually stress most to our campus students, is we want you to be aware that technology radically impacts all of your degrees. And you need to stay up with what's current, with what's going on, and upcoming trends, not just reading, oh, well, I have the newest Pixel phone, or I have the newest iPad, or I have the newest console, or I have the newest graphic card. That's not the extent we're talking about. It's looking at new trends, new things that are coming, the augmented reality trends, the virtual reality trends, and seeing if they're going to have an impact on your industry so that you can prepare for them. So that's my main focus as your course director is to get you guys to understand that technology, be it in hardware or software, and things that you might not realize are something that would affect you, like electric cars, the heads-up display on electric cars. That's actually a whole thing for some of you to get into if you were so inclined. The entire process of military simulations, because they use the VR and augmented reality stuff quite a bit. That's an entire area for almost every single one of your degree fields that wasn't available just a few years ago. So we want you to make sure as you go through TEM that you become more familiar with the technologies that are involved with your degree and are a little more practiced with staying current with what technologies might be coming in and impacting your industry. All right, so that's the overview focus. The secondary objects that we want you to kind of get as you go through the class here, and you'll notice in almost all of our industry assignments that we have you explore other degree programs. So you're not just going to be looking at yours, you're going to be looking at some of the other ones. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of overlap and interrelated objectives and skill sets for you guys. So within that framework, I want you to be exposed to what is going on in each of the industries that we cover, because you might be going into it thinking, I really love making objects in 3D models, and that is my passion and my jam. Well, game art might be a better fit for you than computer animation because they do all of those assets for all video games. So even if you're not a gamer, it might be a great way to get into the industry and do something that you really enjoy doing. Same thing goes for all the developer ones. You want to make sure you're ending in the right spot. That if you're in game design, it's because you want to make the rules that the game is operating on. If you're trying to tell a story or do your design, that's not so much the game design field. You need to kind of have a multi hat to make your own game to come to fruition. But as you go through, Tim, this month, we're going to have you look at your industry thoroughly, and you're going to start looking at some other degree programs that we cover as well here in this class to see which one might be the best fit for you. Find out some interesting facts about the peers you'll be working with. Almost every single one of your degree programs all actually will work in conjunction with each other at some point or another. So the developer who does all the code and buries his head in his screen, he isn't the one who actually does all the tweaks and how the rules are going to work. He writes the code that lets all that happen. He's also not the one generally who makes graphic assets or art assets for the game because that's really not his thing. He doesn't do the website with all the nice shiny things that tease you to come in and put in your key codes and all the other stuff. That's not his side of it either. So there's an interrelated aspect to all of your industries that we want you to explore this month. Make sure you are on the path you think you're on in your head. And as we go through, get an idea of what each of your industries involve and what opportunities are there for you. So keep in mind the big thing is that there is an interrelated nature. And by exploring the interrelated nature, you may find that there's a better fit for you out there. Okay? You guys are on a journey to go from a fan of your particular industries and programs. You're in the amateur stage now where you're learning some more of the skills and how to put it all together. And then on the end, you're going to hopefully exit as a professional and start working with your industry itself. So we'll get you guys through there. Hopefully we'll get through. If you have questions, I'm going to be covering all of our assignments for this week. And then telling you some of the tricks and bits you might want to look out for on those. And then if you have questions on those particular assignments, you can ask them. We have one question here from Mr. Hethman. Someone doesn't want to be a graphic designer, no more found out interested in computer animation. Can they change their class? Yes, actually. TEM is at the perfect juncture. It's before you get into any of your nitty gritty for your particular degree program. I would do it earlier rather than later because earlier allows them to do changes in hardware, which may be a thing that they have to handle with you separately. But it's generally something that you can always do. And at this point, all your classes have overlapped pretty much. Unless you're in game design, then you have one extra that doesn't overlap. So explore, see if there's a good fit for you, and you can kind of move through there and get going. All right? So each week, you're generally going to have a 2 assignment structure. The key with one of them is almost always going to be a discussion forum. And it might not actually be a discussion that you're posting. It might be a link or a document or something you've researched. But it's one of those things that you would need to have your initial post, your very first post and assignment is submitted on Thursday of that given week. And then the responses to your peers will be due on Sunday. It's not there to confuse you. It is not there to trick you. It is there because inevitably, you might not realize this, but students procrastinate. Everybody procrastinates. And what we found in the past is if we do not have an earlier submission For the original post, what happens is everybody comes to the forums on Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening, and they try to write their post and all their responses. Well, that's not fair to the other half of the students who are there trying to work ahead of time and do all of that kind of stuff. So in order to facilitate them having posts that exist for them to respond to, if you do your initial post by Thursday and then your responses by Sunday for the discussions, you are good to go. All the main single submission assignments will be due on Sundays, and this should be reflected on all of your FSO dates and submission deadlines. So look through. Everything is open on the first day of class in this one. So if you go through and want to kind of comb through that and make sure all the dates are lined up where they need to be, you can also export them to your calendar and stuff. All right. For all of you that have questions about degrees, changes, questions like that, save those to the end of lecture so I can get through the main assignments. And for those that the program questions might not be specific for, I can try to revisit and answer them and let everyone else head on out. So we're going to go ahead and start here with our first assignment for the week. It is 1.1, our plan of attack. Now, plan of attack confuses some people. I'm not asking you to write a schedule. I'm really not. It looks kind of like a schedule with our default template because that's an easy thing to follow. But the focus and objective of the plan of attack assignment is, I promise you, most of you have full lives that have a lot of stuff going on. My favorite meme recently was that being an adult means saying that once I get through this week, everything will slow down. Well, nothing here at Full Sail will ever slow down for you until you graduate. All the classes are back to back pretty much. You get your seasonal breaks and your Christmas break, but that's about it. Everything else is in the trenches, new topics constantly, and trying to keep your head above water and get your work done while also usually working full time, taking care of family, and having a social life. Some of those are going to suffer, sadly. So the plan of attack is really intended to be a visual display for you to see where all those different river currents are going to kind of conflict with each other. And what I mean by that is that some of you might have work on certain days, you might have dinner plans with your significant other, you might have your kid for the weekend. So if you have your kid for the weekend and the weekend is normally when you're planning to do your homework on Saturday, that's going to make it a bit tricky. So visually, the idea of this is not for you to just fill in the information. It is for you to write specifically what kind of things you have going on and when you're planning on working on assignments and when the assignments are due, so that you can see visually where those conflicts might arise and we can come to a solution for those conflicts before it results in you missing the deadline for your work, if that makes sense. So on our template, you can see if you've downloaded it, it is an Excel document. You can also open it in Google Docs. The instructions for that are in the videos lower on the page. And you can also use the default iOS, I think it's called Numbers, and that's available on the iPad as well. So you can use pretty much anything. And here's the other thing. You're not restricted to doing it as a spreadsheet. Some of you are much more artistic. You can do it as a roundel. You can do it as a Wordle. Anything that's visually going to allow you to see where real life stuff, as the threads of your life are being referred to here, and your homework are going to fit in there. Now, some of your instructors, because we have a huge selection of adjunct folks, may say, oh, I'm sorry, you're supposed to submit this. Just refer them to this particular lecture archive that'll be posted in all your sections tomorrow, and you can let them know. As long as you are visually hitting these points, and that's what we're talking about here really briefly. So what we want is it does need to show the whole month, okay? So you need all the month. You need real life and school stuff scheduled. And you want to make sure that whatever format you do it in, you end up submitting it as a PDF. All right? So as long as you have that, you should be good to go. And then the template is there because some people, unfortunately, don't have the energy level, I guess, for being super creative, or they are just totally flustered at this point in their school career and they're not ready for it. Or they consider themselves good stoic folks who want to get through their tasks in an efficient manner, because it doesn't need to be pretty to get it done. So please understand you're not being judged on whether it's pretty or not. You're being judged on whether it meets the minimum requirements of stuff that we're talking about here. So our minimum expectations here is that it should be a downloadable PDF for me. All right. You want to read through the instructions. I will tell you what happens. We get a bazillion students that come onto this page. They go, plan of attack, A, B, C, D. Okay, we got it. That doesn't give you everything. All right, that really doesn't. So pretty much this is what you're looking for. You want to make sure you have your personal schedule of mixed tasks. You want to make sure that you have a backup plan. And you're going to ask, Mr. Shock, what the heck do you mean by a backup plan? I mean, I always have internet. That's no big deal. Nah, see, it's a shocking number of students who tell me on Sunday evening at 11:55 they send an email saying that their internet went out and that they're unable to submit their work. So that's great. That's the idea of the backup plan. So that if your internet stops working, you can go to where your backup plan is and make sure you get it taken care of. If you're concerned that you'd have bad internet or your internet goes out, there is actually a map further down on this page with free online Wi-Fi locators and Wi-Fi where to go and how to use your phones as hotspots and all sorts of great stuff for you. So please don't feel that you're being restricted. The verifiable backup just means it's something that you know for sure. And don't put like my friend's house because he's always there. Because he's not always there. He has work and he might have his computer off with him and they might not have internet. He might have had a fight with his roommate. So verifiable backup plan means something that's pretty reliable. As an example, McDonald's Wi-Fi. If your McDonald's has Wi-Fi, it's going to be there whenever you're up there. And then you want to make sure that you get all of the information taken care of and filled in on various days, however works for you. So what I mean with that is that, like some of you are asking general questions, remember to hold questions until the end of a particular section. So when I'm done talking about 1.1, you guys can ask it. But to cover some of the information, what you're going to want to look for is blocks. It doesn't need to be an hour by hour. I'm not looking for your schedule again. But if, as an example, you know you'll be working Sunday morning, then block off Sunday morning with something visually to let you know that that's for work. And then if Sunday morning was when you would normally be doing your homework, you'll obviously have to move that particular homework time slot to another day. And you would want to see when the conflict is with that. So this is more of a time management sheet. It is not a schedule. It is not written in stone. So for those of you that have floating work schedules and are concerned that you won't be able to address that particular bit of information on this, that's not what this is for. Do your best guess on when you think you'll be working and change it as you go. All right. The last key part, not last key part, but the other key part is here. If you look down towards the bottom of the template, it actually has an area set for time estimates on how long you think some of these assignments are going to take you. And then it has an area for how long it actually took you, right? The reason for that, you're not going to have both of those for everything. You can look through all the assignments. We have them open for you. Try to look at what they're asking you to do and do your best estimate based on what it's asking, just with your cursory read on how long that assignment's going to take. That's going to give you your estimates. The results are for you to utilize. For the week 1 submission for this by Sunday, you just pretty much need to know how long it actually took you to do this assignment in 1.2, all right? And 1.0, I believe, actually. So you fill in the actual time for that, and the idea of that section, and that section needs to be on however you're representing this, with flowers for each assignment, whatever you want to do. You can go as creative as you want, people, honestly. But what you need to be able to see is that visual conflict if there's time and stuff. So the template shows this information in set areas. It doesn't need to be in a set area. It just needs to be covered. So you do need to have your time estimates and your actual results of how long it took you, with the intent that you'll then look through that and be able to do your best guess on whether you were correct on your estimate. So as an example, for 1.1, if you say, oh, it looks easy, I just have to make this scheduling thing. If I do it for an hour, we're good to go. And then you actually finish it on Sunday, you go to turn it in Sunday night, and you realize it took you 4.5 hours to finish this assignment. That's a good indicator for your future assignments that you probably need to add a little more time for your functionality so that you understand and have that time available. Okay? So as long as you do your best guess on your estimates, I am not holding you to it, guys. Okay? Your time estimate is not there for me or any of my team to look at and go, wow, this person says he took 10 hours for this assignment. That's going to be forever. His work's going to be amazing, or maybe he's really struggling with it and we should reach out for help. That's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're referencing at this particular thing. It is for you, your time estimate, and then your actual time spent on it, so that you can see if you're in the ballpark for how long some of this stuff is going to take you. Because it will always take you longer than you think it's going to take. All right. So the other thing you'll need to do is export your file as a landscape PDF. There is a how to do so video here for you, reference one, and there should be Google Drive Essentials and where this one, the Plan of Attack help and Plan of Attack one page save. One page save. This should be our iPad version that covers how to take your single page document and make it a one page PDF and stuff for you guys there. Other helpful links on how to use some of the items, etc., etc. The resources cover a variety of things, and some of them, like 2010 Essentials, is not essential, not necessary for you to watch at this point unless you're trying to get an idea of what some of the base stuff is. So for this one, this is roughly what our template looks like. There has the information for your signature here. It has your backup information here, when the backup information is there, each of the days. They have color-coded by week on this example, and then they have all their assignments, real-world stuff blocked in there. So some of you are, again, concerned about blocks of time. That's okay. If you have blocks of time, fill in those 2 days, make them whatever color you want, and say that's work. That's all you have to do. You just have, I don't need an hour by hour. If you know on Sunday you're going to be working for a large amount of time, visually represent that you're working for a large amount of time, however it works for you, and so that I can look at this and see, oh, this person's going to be working Saturdays and Sundays for big blocks of time. So they hopefully are doing their homework on Thursdays, Fridays, Wednesdays, that kind of stuff. All right. So after you go through this, you have your estimates on the bottom. You're going to have your time estimate, the actual time it took you, and the notes is like, need more time, had trouble on this, that kind of stuff. All right. Really, guys, it's easing you in here so you can kind of look over all the assignments that you're going to have coming up this month. You can figure out how long they're going to take you, And then however you want, if you're not feeling creative, if you're feeling a little too overwhelmed by the decisions and the process, use the template. All you have to do is fill in the information. I work here, I have a dinner with my wife here, I have to walk my dog here, whatever. Whatever tasks you do on a day-to-day basis, all right? And then you want to write when you're planning on doing your assignments. Now, some people take this super easy route and they go, oh, Saturday for all day I work on my assignments, and then Sunday I'll spend the afternoon finishing up whatever I missed. Guys, I'm not checking this for accuracy on when you're doing it or whether you're being a good student or not. So if you have, as an example, an hour on Tuesday to start your assignment and like 2 hours on Thursday to try to finish your assignment, and then anything you miss is like an hour on Sunday evening, write that down. That's okay. This is for you so that you would be able to see if that particular time slot where you're planning on doing your homework is actually like, oh crap, I have a wedding on week 2 and I'm going to be out of town for 2 days. I need to change when I'm doing my homework assignments. Does that make sense? I know there's a small stream of questions here. Let's see. Colin says the template helped him get kind of a basis on it. That's totally solid. That's what we're talking about. And then again, for the landscaping, you have this video here for Mac, and then you have this video down here for tablet and stuff. So pretty much mostly it comes down to if you go to File, Print for whatever device you're on. I can't see it because of the chat window. Down here will be a PDF option, or if it's a PC, you'll have something in here that has file type, and then you just select your file type as PDF or save as PDF, etc., and you're good. So there's my landscape. You can make it for a single page, scale 100%, and then print as PDF, that kind of stuff. So it's pretty much the print option is generally the one you're going to be doing, and you'll be solid with it. So let's see what else we have. Oh, they are scrolling past too fast. Yeah, landscaping. Christopher says second video is the same as the first. Oh, I apologize. Then this one here. One of these is the iPad, and one of these is the embedded video here. So the naming, I should probably improve for you all, so I apologize. You do not need to take a picture of it on your wall. That is useful. And the reason it's useful is because this way you can see when you have the items. So you can take a screenshot. If you're on a Mac, it's Shift Command 3, I believe, or Shift Option 3. If you're on an iPad, you just have to press the top button and the home button at the same time. Whatever you need to do, take a screenshot so you have it somewhere and it's available for you, if that makes sense. Let's see. Christina, you are going to import a Excel doc into Google Drive. So if you send me a specific message and you're not able to find it with this and the help document here, then I will send you a specific set of steps to get you to be able to download it to your iPad. Pretty much what you're going to want to do is open it in the Google Drive version. So we'll just talk about how you can go through that particular process. Jonathan says, can you edit what he's already posted and then repost it? If it is before the final deadline, if it is before Sunday or before Thursday, then yes, you're totally okay with taking care of it that way. Just let your instructor know that there's you made some changes and there's an additional submission. And please put like version 2, version 3, version 4, or whatever on the particular assignment so that you don't get stuck with 6 files for your instructor that are all named the same thing. Does that make sense? All right, and then James says, when you're filling in your assignment, do you complete it all or wait each week? You need to do, as the example is here, the whole month. You're roughing out the whole month and when you're going to be working on the assignments and your time estimates. The time estimates themselves, you should have one for every assignment throughout the week. The actual time is the only place you'll have blanks because you're only going to be able to do the actual time for the week 1 items. Everything else is going to be filled in. So this will be filled in. The first few lines here will be filled in. All of this will be filled in, and all of this top areas will be filled in. And your paragraph, you can actually just put it down here. Some of you are asking about where the paragraph, you can put it down here. You can include it on your FSO submission. So I don't know if my window is going to look like it, but say if you submit it here, in your feedback, you can just write your paragraph. What I'm going to do with the schedule is this, 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 and this, and blah, 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 that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? Christopher, hang around and talk to me after lecture, and I'll try to go through with it on the screen for you, if I'm able to, on screen share to show you what we need to do and stuff, okay? You should be able to, James asked if you can change from the Sheets app on the iPad, if you can change it to a PDF from the app. You should be able to, James. I'm not sure what it looks like because I don't have it on my iPad itself, but there should be an option in Sheets for save or export or share, something along those lines, and that should have a PDF. Erica asked, so basically we're making a spreadsheet of our schedule for the month. No, not really. You're kind of doing an overview of when you have windows of time that will be available for homework. Basically, you're mapping when you're going to have conflicts between other obligations and your schoolwork obligations so that you can optimize when you need to get your assignment done. Does that make sense? I don't care what hours you're putting for your particular tasks or how detailed you are, or if you're vague and say work, or if you're saying like from 9 to 10, I'm eating lunch. I'm not looking for an actual schedule. I'm just looking for the blocks of activities, visually, so to speak, of what you're going to have going on in your life and then going on with schoolwork. Eliana asks, what if I don't have any other obligations? Everybody does something. You go to sleep, you hang out with friends, you spend time with your family, you eat dinner, that kind of stuff. So that's what we're looking for. Will we get points deducted for added hours then or no? I'm not quite sure what you mean, Brandy. Could you repeat that one? Brandy, go ahead and repeat your question. James says, can I work on each week, though, that I do my school at work for this? Just visually represent. If you're working on your schoolwork at work, that's totally fine. Put work, and then inside that little image, whatever you're using to do your work stuff, you slip in there that that's when you're doing your homework time. But even that, you need to take into account that sometimes there's stuff you'll have to do at work. So if you're a security, you're going to have to do rounds. You're not always sitting at the desk, that kind of stuff. So make sure you take that into account so that you don't plan on, oh, I'm going to have like a 6-hour block at work to get this all done. When in reality, you have to make rounds 4 times, and that takes about an hour and a half. And then you have to do the lockup and all the other lockdown procedures, and that's going to take about an hour. So you're going to actually only have 4 hours, that kind of stuff. So it's the same thing, James. You're as a housekeeper, you're going to have to make your rounds, right? You got to go and get certain stuff cleaned at certain times. So just take that into account. However it works for you, however you are comfortable representing it, is totally fine. Brandy, repeat her question, says, if we did write it as a schedule blocking of hours of the day that are set in stone for someone to not be able to do schoolwork. No, none of this is set in stone. This is just a visual representation for you guys. So If your schedule changes, you can make adjustments on your schedule. You don't have to resubmit it. If you find you have more free time, anything along those lines, no, the sleep's a given. No, you don't have to include that. Basically, whatever is going to work for you guys to see when you are going to work on homework and when other things are going to come up. Be it from a doctor's appointment to I'm doing Borderline 3 bosses with my friends on Saturday night for 7 hours, so I can't do homework. All right? That's your choice. So I'm not judging you on any of that. The focus and objective of this assignment is so that you can visually see where you will have opportunities to do your homework and where your planned opportunities to do your homework will conflict with other obligations you have. All right? Any other questions? Totally understand, Elizabeth. Do the best you can with what your guess is. And if you know you work 3 times generally on a given week, then pencil it in as 3 and go from there. If it changes and you work 4, just remember to account for that so that when you're getting your time for your homework, that you remember, oh, I worked 4 or 5 shifts this week, so I'm not going to be able to do the homework on that particular free evening and stuff like that. Does that make sense? Whatever works for you to actually physically represent it on the schedule, Elizabeth, is totally fine. Any other questions on the plan of attack? Anybody else? Questions? Questions going once. Questions going twice. Questions go. Oh, there's one. Is it okay to do next week's work if I'm going to be traveling? Yes, you can work ahead in the class as much as you want. Keep in mind you're doing so without the advantage of the live go-to lecture going over the assignments, as well as what you'll be missing is the active support of the instructor with feedback and stuff. All right, moving on to 1.2. Erica, you can edit however you want to edit. However, visually you can represent that those blocks of time will not be available for homework. Whatever works, and visually for you to help you get that part clear. You'll be good to go. Tara, the recording for this archive should be posted no later than tomorrow evening. I have to process the video tonight, get it uploaded. I send it out to everybody tomorrow, and then sometime during the day tomorrow, they'll post it up to their announcements or messages. All right, so our second assignment for you guys this week is our 1.2 industry websites. Now, people get a little confused with this. We do have click here for industry website link, and when I open it up for you, we go over here, and you can see we have a variety of them. Some have more, some have less, some have tiny lists, some have giant ones. These are not exhaustive links. They are only here to get you started if you don't know what this is actually looking for. This assignment is the start of what we talked about at the beginning in the lecture. And that's basically you have to keep up with changes and trends that are affecting your industries themselves. It used to be a matter of trade magazines. They even had Photoshop magazines and stuff like that in physical printed paper copies that you would go to the store and buy. And you would look at that and you would go through a tutorial in Photoshop, or you'd learn how to apply a particular filter, that kind of stuff. They had the same thing for modeling, same thing for coding. That's some of those still exist, but by and large, there's a bazillion websites that are out there for all of your industries. There are areas that share information, that help, that teach, that explain, that you can search, that have reference material. But the key with this is the focus of the website. So what you're going to do is you're going to have at least 3 websites that focus on your degree, okay? And with each of those, I want you to write a single decent length paragraph. That means 3 to 5 sentences, people, at least, about what you found interesting about the site, what it shared, the information that was available. Did you find work on it that was inspiring? Was something really cool? What are you taking away from the site? That kind of stuff. After you do that for 3 that are within your degree program, you're going to pick 2 additional sites for a total of 5 websites. Each website needs its own big beefy paragraph, okay? But with the additional 2 sites, what we're looking for there is for you to go to this list and pick any of these degrees that are not your own. It can be related to yours or not. You can say, you know what, I want to do something different. Let me go see what cloud tech is about. And you're going to use that to find the websites and kind of get some information. Now, I don't have the best example here, but say you are a game design student and you go to now, who here thinks this would be a good industry website for game design? So you think on Blizzard's website that there's going to be talk about modeling techniques used to get the particular look for WoW or some of their games? Is there going to be an article about how they did their loot algorithm for what's going to drop at a particular boss? Is there anything here about the boss encounter design philosophies? Yeah, see, Dwayne, right there, you said it perfectly. This site is about the game, not about the mechanics. So, what I want you to understand is you're going through these sites. This is what we call a fan geared site. The focus of this site is to get you excited about their games and get you hyped with news about their games. Okay? We'll go to another one, not design related, but you'll see the difference. This is Stack Overflow. So Stack Overflow, we'll say Swift array sorting. Now, this is a website. If you're a developer, by the way, you should bookmark this one. And what this has here, briefly, is a question that somebody posted. I was trying to do this thing. Here's what I did. It's not working. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Here's how the time is messed up. All right. And then if you scroll down, well, this is them making edits to it. But if you scroll down, there are various people, and this shows you how many people agreed with a particular solution. And they say, here's what I did. Here's another way you could do it. That kind of stuff. All right. So this doesn't care about any of the other shiny stuff. It doesn't care what platform you're working on. This doesn't care if you're a coder, new or old. This just is here for people who do developing. Also useful, by the way, for web developers to share and discuss how to utilize it. Well, Sam, you're going to learn how to read code as you go through the degree program, so I don't expect you to be able to do that yet. But generally, it just comes down to breaking down the syntax like with any other language. So once you understand that, it's pretty much solid. So that's an example of an industry versus not industry website, okay? You want to stay away from the fan-based sites. Let me see. I can't remember. Let me see if I can get back to the doot, 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 doot. Oh, no, that's what I wanted right there. All right, and if we go to, where's our art? ZBrush Central, yeah, that works. Boop. So when we go here, we have a host of things for you. We have a bazillion models, right, to look at from different people at different levels of realism. But they also show you facts that are relevant for people who are in the industry. They used XGen Core for the hair. They rendered in Maya with Arnold, painted in Substance Painter, sculpted in ZBrush. All the skin pores are hand painted one by one using custom brushes. That is crazy, but hey, good for them. Looks spectacular, right? So here's the thing. They show you the different stages of this, right? They show you the different stages. They show you the map. They show you how they modeled. They show you all of that. And then usually, not always, there are topics down here. You generally want stuff more than stunning, great work, awesome, looks cool. It's a great place to actually ask questions of people on how they did a particular thing and how they modeled it. So this is what I'm talking about. You're going to utilize this assignment to research and dig around, okay, to find websites that would be applicable for within your industry and within two other industries themselves, okay? And by industry website, it should be something in which you might not understand everything they're talking about at this stage because you guys are very early in your journey for all of this, right? This is new stuff. It's like the gentleman said up there, I don't know how to read code. Of course you don't know how to read code. That's why you're here. But you can see that they're talking about code. You can see that somebody said, hey, I have this problem, and here are some possible solutions for it. There's a discourse and a discussion going on that makes the developer community stronger. You can see through some of the discussions here with ZBrush Central that there are things here that you can discuss techniques. There might be a site that has tutorials. There might be a site that talks about new trends, how to use augmented reality with computer animation. How do you need to adjust your models so that they work in AR and can be placed down on a surface? All of that kind of stuff. So that's not your litmus test. What I want you to do is just go on crazy Google searches, go down the rabbit hole, and find sites that you think might be related to your industry. Then dig around and explore those. And if you feel it is appropriate and that you can answer these particular prompts for that website, then include that website as one of your 3 or one of your additional 2 and write up what you liked about it. Write about what you thought you could have learned from it, that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? It's nothing crazy tricky, guys. Basically, this assignment is asking you to go down the internet rabbit hole of your industry, okay? Start on a YouTube video, go from there. Find a wiki page. The best thing, everybody always goes, oh, you can't use wiki as a source. Yeah, you're right, you can't. But you can do computer animation, wiki. And then if we go here to this computer animation Wikipedia and scroll all the way to the bottom, because it's a curated page, look at all of these sources. My gosh, it's almost like they researched it all for us. And some of these might be web links to something where we can go. Look, it led us here. So I do not want you to be clear and to reiterate this so there's no confusion whatsoever. Do not use Wikipedia as one of your sources. Okay? Don't choose Wikipedia page as a website. with that being said, this is a great way to get started. You can also, as you know, look at media stuff. So there could be TED Talks that might mention websites, but we're not looking for videos and how to or on people. We're looking for websites that you might go to as someone within your industry, where you'd be able to find information, where you'd be able to share information with your peers. I know they're not your peers yet, but they will be, and that you'll be able to kind of grow that together. Does that make sense? So this is me tossing you in the rabbit hole of your industry on the internet because I want you to explore. I want you to dig around in your industry and see what's there. You're not going to be able to do Google searches. If you didn't know what Stack Overflow was, you can't search for Stack Overflow, right? I mean, that doesn't really work. So if that's not how this works, then you have to start your search from somewhere. So who here is my animators? Actually, Noah said it. Check subreddits for suggestions. That's actually brilliant. Now, I know some people go, oh, Reddits, no, that's going to be horrible. There's nothing but trolls that live on Reddit. No, there's a bazillion things on Reddit that's going to be able to get you started. There's going to be people who share links and go, hey, here's a really great site. But so if you're doing computer animation, you might not look for computer animation, but you could go, stop. You could do a search for Pixar, Maui. I don't know how to spell Maui. How do you spell Maui? There it is. Maui tattoos. And what this is going to do, oh, look, here's, well, Pinterest probably not the best thing. How to 2D animation bring Moana's mini Maui to life. Oh, look at this. Oh, what? There's a whole article about how they actually animated his tattoos on the animated figure. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing. So you might not know what it is you're starting looking for. And someone here says, what can I do for graphic design? Well, let's see. Saul Bass, poster archive. So if we look at Saul Bass, we see his gallery. You might find some other stuff. This isn't a website people would come to, right? This isn't one you're sharing information, but it might get you started. You need to just do a search for graphic design, logo techniques, and graphic design. I'll do my all-time favorite thing. Let's see. This is the one we talk about in class. No, that's not going to work. That'll work. There we go. Okay. So, we'll go here. Just want the one. All right, whatever. So we go here, right? So this is the Amazon logo. And there's some subtle design elements in this for my DAD people. And that design element, this is a smile, right? The company's called Amazon, and there's a smile. Exactly, Christina. The arrow goes from A to Z because they offer you products from A to Z. Right? So if you do a search for variants of that, you might get to a blog that talks about weapon design. Totally, brain is on Borderlands. I apologize. So you might find something that talks about logo design and the factors they put in it. This is a blog for someone within the industry, and that's totally okay. Yeah, FedEx is another great one. I'll show you. FedEx logo. All right, so you see here we have FedEx, right? there's an arrow right here because it's on the move. This arrow is a visual cue to let you know FedEx is moving. It's moving your package. So it's those little things you want to find for graphic design, for all of you, not even just for graphic design. What you need to do for the industry websites is start a search for something you do know would be an example of something in your industry. Then from that, start digging down into how is this used? Question on this logo design, how to do colors and logo, that kind of stuff. And those searches should start bringing you to sites that you see frequently that come up. I guarantee there's like 3 websites total that come up all the time. If you have any developer code question, there's like 3 different sites that come up. And the top of the list every single time is Stack Overflow because somebody's probably asked your question. Same thing, James. Look at pick a game. Borderlands 3 random weapon algorithms. And that might bring you to a discussion on how they have decided what features go on any particular weapon. You can look at choke points and level design, how to elicit a mood with music in a game level, that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? Yep, you can look up the design program, Illustrator program, and then how amend words to the question so you can gear it a little more towards something like that. Not all graphic design is related just to advertising now. There's a good deal of the work with motion graphics, which is another part of graphic design with logos. So I'll show you what I mean with that. This is a great example.
Hi, we're redecorating our home.
Not so much the ad.
What is this?
Let's get this in one. So this is from a graphic design house. Okay? This is all graphic design. The logo they chose, how they presented it, how it's reflected, all of this is motion graphics and part of graphic design. Okay? So you guys aren't going to be aware of all this. I understand that. Jason says, so mainly looking for sites that are geared towards helping us learn about our industry, skills, techniques, up-and-coming programs. Kind of, yes, Jason, pretty much. But not with that spin. You don't want a site that's just going to be like, hey, here's where we answer questions. You want something where people come and share their knowledge and other people can contribute and comment on it. That kind of stuff. Vault.com would be usable, Matt, yes. And for all of my graphic design and animator folks, do not use DeviantArt. DeviantArt is your fan version of the one that all the professional artists actually use, which is called ArtStation. ArtStation is the one you would want to include as a graphic design artist or as an animator, modeler. DeviantArt is not. DeviantArt does share stuff and you can find some interesting things, but it's more geared towards fans and amateurs, whereas ArtStation is more geared towards the professionals. Does that make sense? What else we got? What else we got? Let me see. James said we can type in any game and find something on it. It depends, James, actually, if you're a game design or if you're a game developer, because the developer, he's going to want to know the algorithms and how Borderlands does its loot system, right? He might want something on that particular bit of info. But the game designer doesn't care about that. The game designer cares about maybe the boss fight for what's Gigavolt, Kilovolt? Can't remember his name. So that would be that kind of thing. Game art is a similar type thing. Game art, you're going to look for a lot of your animation stuff. You're going to look for a lot of your animation websites, and you're going to try to see where it is that you have. What just? Hold on, my interface just closed. I apologize. There we go. Okay. ArtStation is the graphic design one. Discord Rick is a little trickier because we could form a Discord group, right? Just the three of us. We could throw in some other people in this group, and it doesn't mean it's anything industry related. So it's one of those things you have to take into account. Now there's some raised hands here. If you still have a raised hand and questions, go ahead and type your question out related to 1.2, and I'll take it from there. Alexander, I would again stick to ArtStation instead of TurboSquid. Because generally you have more active professional artists who have published work, if you will, that you will see on ArtStation. As opposed to, no matter how talented, somebody who did something really neat and people are commenting on. And you also want to look for places where it's giving substantial, like you saw on Stack Overflow. It was extensive answers with the code and everything. Does that make sense? James, I was just using it as an example. Destiny as a game isn't what there's no industry website on Destiny that you would go to. If Destiny is your jam and that's a game you like, look up the boss mechanics for the Emperor and see how the level design integrated gameplay elements, like how to run, jump, timing, and all of that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? You can use any game, but if you're in the design aspects, you need to focus on the design elements of it. Hardware sites, if they're aimed at your industry, are a little more iffy because generally they're from the manufacturer of the said hardware, and it's like, ooh, But if it's something like Magic Leap or Oculus Rift and it's how to design something or utilize that as a tool for your industry, then yes, that's okay. Jonathan, it is not game focused. You're going to be looking at the mechanics of games and websites where they talk about the design elements and their choices and why they made those choices. So you can use any game whatsoever because you're not talking about the game. You're not finding a website about that game. You're finding a website that's talking about design elements. It might mention that game, it might not. You may find that the website has a single mention of Destiny and then moves on and talks about other games as well. Yes, Craig asked if forums are okay with peer-to-peer and stuff like that. Yes, that's totally okay. As long as when you go through some of the posts, you're able to find where there's correct answers given. You don't want a lot of customer service type threads where there's stuff that's open, never been answered, and you get mostly, yeah, it's really good, great job, that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? No, YouTube channels, the only discourse and discussion you're gonna ever have on a YouTube channel is in the comments of the videos. And I would prefer you ignore that cesspit because that's not really where this focus is. Most industry people don't talk about solutions to anything on a YouTube channel. Yes, we have one question. I do understand. With that being said, Noah, there are various websites that focus on Swift programming and stuff like that, and they are useful for learning those skills, but there's no discourse or discussion on them. It. Some YouTube channels could work, yes. Go ahead, Kawani. You had a question? while we're waiting for the question to be posed, I will say one happy little joke for you guys. As a warning, I'm a dad, but I like dad jokes, and I made dad jokes before I was a dad. I've made dad jokes since I was probably 12. So I will share an oldie but a goodie, and this was from my niece when she was 5, and she's now like 30 something and has 3 kids. So what I want from you guys is just a moment of happy, focus, quiet, so you can appreciate how bad this joke is. Why did Tigger have his head in the toilet? He was looking for poo. Right? That's a good one. All right, scrolling back up to the questions through all the LOLs. Ah, too many jokes. All right. Yes, William, that is the focus. You want to find resources. It doesn't have to be literally a resource, as long as it's somewhere where you're able to see discussions, you're able to see what they're talking about, and kind of grow from that. America asks, as a game designer, if there's a game industry that's not listed, but you have game industries you dream of being in. I'm not sure what you mean. America, as your focus is going to be design, the design aspects of game. So there's no game industry because you're looking at more the psychology. With the design, you're literally the microtransactions are a great example of design psychology. It's because you get that dopamine hit when you open a loot box and you get that rare item. That's what loot rewards do in games. People play Borderlands 3 because you run around like a crazy person shooting stuff, not because that is fun for hours and hours, but because every now and then a little orange beam shoots up from a piece of loot that drops, and you go, yes, I got that rare item. Does that make sense? That's the game design. That's the kind of stuff you're looking into. So you want to find sites that don't talk about different game industries. Game design is game design, whether it's for a board game or a video game. It's still design principles. All right, hold on. We had a question I missed. Cass says, what do you mean by the assignment B? Next, pick 2 other sites from 2 different degrees. Compare it to your industry degrees. That's just what we were talking about earlier. So the very first websites, you're going to have 3 paragraphs from 3 websites that pertain to your degree, and then you are just going to get from another degree that's not yours. So if you're in game design, you could go to game development, you could do computer animation, you could do cloud technologies, and you're going to find a website that would be the same thing, applicable to them, applicable to that particular industry you're looking at. And then from there, you'll talk about in those paragraphs what are the similarities to your degree or industry. What did you learn about their particular field that you weren't aware of? That kind of stuff. Does that make sense? So 5 websites total. 3 will be from your degree program. 2 will not be. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, hold on. Scrolling up with questions. Someone said for YouTube, I assume you want something like keep scrolling, FZD School. It depends. There's a lot of developers and stuff that also run websites talking about specific languages, how to do specific tasks in them. So those are viable resources. They're just not, YouTube channels generally are not industry related websites. It's not like a widely used resource. YouTube channels are going to kind of come and go. All right, let's see. See if Yes, the 3 graphic design and 2 others, you could say both of them could be animation, or you could do computer animation and game art. That would be totally fine, Kiana. Yes, Noah, that's okay. Something along those lines is totally okay. Kevin asked a question. Is this out of 100 points and 80 is like a B average? Is it 80 points and what's the max you can achieve? I'm not quite sure what you mean, but I think it's here. This is minimum requirements. If you meet the minimum requirements, you have an 80, and 80 is a B. If you go down all the way to the bottom of all of this, we have our assignment rubrics and PDFs. When you scroll, oh, it did not open. Why did you not open? Come on. There we go. And if you scroll to the very bottom of this, you find this PDF here. This PDF here is going to give you a rough idea of where your points are going to fall for the particular project. All weighted grades are 100. Although I don't know if it shows. It does not show here. Yes. So I don't mean to get in complex math, so forgive me if this confuses the situation. This assignment, every assignment we do is graded on a 100-point scale. The grade weight tells you how much of that directly will apply to your grade. All of these weights will equal 100. So if you get 100 on plan of attack, that means you get 10% for your class overall grade. So 100 gives you 10 points in the class for the month. If you get 100 on all of your stuff, that will equal, once you add up all the weights, 100%. Does that make sense? I think I'll do game art game design. Okay, yep. Film logos, they use design CGI technology to create them. The film logos, for that, you're going to look at design elements and logos, fonts used in logos, how to elicit particular feelings, typography, that kind of stuff. And those kind of searches are what's going to narrow you down to what you're looking for. And anyone who came in late is totally okay. This is all recorded and going to be uploaded later. It will be in your individual sections, either in announcements or messages, and you'll be able to pull all the information from there. Any other questions on 1.2? No, Brandy, you totally can use any of the websites on the list that we provide. Any of these you can use. But this is not an extensive list by any means. We can't even curate it to keep up with all the new ones. We try as best we can. We get it from the program directors and stuff, but this is a starting point for you. Feel free to use any of these. Feel free to, if these lead you to other ones, to use those. You are not in any way restricted by this list. It is a starting point only. Does that make sense? Good. Yes, to kind of get an idea where to get started. All right, if no one has any other 1.2 questions, I'll go ahead and wrap up the archive. And anyone who does not have further remaining questions pertaining to the class or other items can go ahead and head out. But if you do have questions and you want them answered, go ahead and hang around. All right, let me wrap up the recording.